So, looks good.
I always
No
got plenty to
countdown.
talk about when it talks about UFOs and stuff. So
What's happened to the countdown? Nick, what have you done to our countdown? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday's edition of the Dark Mirror Radio Show. Now, unfortunately, we don't have Mark with us tonight, and something's happened, and the poor old boy's ended up going to hospital. So, all the best to Mark, and hopefully everything is fine, and you'll get through it. I've just got to share things out to various groups. Only I'm having issues trying to find certain things. Yeah, we're having a bit of an issue there. We're having a few issues with setting things up. So,
with us.
yeah, as always.
The fun of technology.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's always one person that knows what we're talking about and doing what we're doing, and then there's others, the rest of us, that haven't got a clue. So, there we go. I'll just set out the best as I can. So, excellent. So this evening we're going to be talking about Mars and the latest discovery. So I'm going to wind over to you, Josh, because you suggested it.
Basically, about a day or two ago, the Mars rover drove over something. It crunched. It flipped back around to check it out, and it found what looks like to be crystals.
Yep. It's yeah, and in particular, the crystals were at the robotic explorer had got to an area known as the Chayava Falls, and they seem to believe that it harboured fossilized microbes from billions of years ago. And at that point, Mars was a watery world. It had plenty of water in it. The Perseverance, which is the name of the rover, it drilled into the rock on the 21st of this month as it was on its way through the Neretva Vallis, which is a river valley. The samples carefully stowed beneath the rover's belly are destined to come back to Earth, where then they'll undergo more analysis. But they've said that the three compelling clues that sort of confirm that there was life on Mars is white calcium sulfate, which runs through the length of the rock, which is a telltale sign that water once flowed through it. Between these veins is a reddish middle area teeming with organic compounds, which was detected by, and I've got to get this right now, it's called Sherlock, the instrument. It's in its scanning habitable environments with Raman and luminescence for organics and chemicals instrument. So that's a nice mouthful, isn't it? Can you imagine the NASA guys trying to pronounce that when they've had a couple of drinks? But finally, there was tiny off-white splotches ringed with black, reminiscent of leopard spots, and they contained chemicals that suggest energy sources for ancient microbes. And according to the scan by the Planetary Instrument for X-ray lithochemistry, so they're pretty convinced that there was life on Mars, because on Earth These types of features in rocks are often associated with fossilized record of microbes living on the subsurface. So they are pretty confident that there is something there. But obviously, the real test is going to come when it returns to Earth with the samples, which is part of the Mars Sample Return Program. And that is a collaboration between NASA and the European Space Agency. That's due to return around 2030. While there are alternative explanations for these findings, they do not involve microbes. There is a tantalizing chance that Perseverance's core sample may contain actual fossilized microbes. So they've zapped the rock with lasers and X-rays and imaged it literally day and night from just about every imaginable angle. Scientifically, Perseverance has nothing more to give, and to fully understand what really happened in the Martian river valley at Jezero crater billions of years ago, we'd want to bring the Giava Falls sample back to Earth so it can be studied with the powerful instruments available in the laboratories that aren't available there. So that's, I mean, they've always felt that there is something there on Mars, and there has always been proof of life on Mars just by rock samples that have come to Earth from Mars. So this is the actual picture from the Mars rover. And as you can see on there, there are the telltale signs that they're looking for that are claiming denotes life on Mars. And the question then is there still life on Mars? Because they're saying that a lot of that is due to subsurface material, which then would beg the question, is there something still there under the surface? And as recently, sorry, Josh.
I was just going to bring that up. I think you're probably going to just about to bring up the same thing about the moon and the tunnel that was found.
I was going to come up with something else.
Oh.
You go ahead with your moon.
I think it was about last week that happened. I don't know. Have you heard about this too? That there's a tunnel that they found in the moon, well, like a trench.
Yes.
It could be perfect for us to live there if there isn't somebody already there.
Yeah. I can't remember how long they said. They said it was a couple of 100 meters long, didn't they?
Yeah.
It goes right into the moon's surface. But my one was going to be what we've said about a couple of weeks ago. We mentioned about an underground habitation, so another Earth underneath the surface. And in April, scientists from Northwestern University discovered a massive ocean trapped in the Earth's mantle, and it's 700 kilometers beneath the surface. It's 3 times the size of all the oceans on the Earth's surface combined, and is contained within blue rock called ringwoodite. The discovery was made by analyzing faint tremors from over 500 earthquakes using a network of 2,000 seismographs across the United States. So,
Wayne, let me ask you something real quick. With that discovery being made, do you think that's evidence for all this stuff Admiral Byrd was talking about?
it's possible. When you think about it, if it's bigger than all the Earth's oceans combined,
That's big.
That's a vast area. And obviously, that's what's going to be down there in amongst that water. You know, what creatures are going to be living there, and what's at the edges. So the next thing is going to be is some bright spark is going to go, do you know what? Let's go down there. And this could be one reason why NASA stopped doing sea exploration and went on to space exploration. I reckon NASA knew that was there, and they knew what was in there.
I don't trust NASA at all. We
No.
lost the ability to go to the moon. There's a fire we just didn't tell anybody about. We just lost the technology to go to the moon, and we cannot replicate it. We're sorry. Even though some of our scientists are still working there.
Yeah, I mean, it does make you wonder why they have come up with something like that. Sorry, disappeared. We just, we'll just do a quick couple of highs here because we've had people comment and we haven't replied to them. So, evening, Andy, Eric, Rita, Noreen. Hope you're all well.
Hello, everybody. Can't see the comments, so
we're going backwards with technology at the moment. So we're trying our best to catch up with everybody's comments. And if anybody didn't hear at the start, Mark has had to take a trip to hospital, so we hope he's well. But yeah, I mean, what could be in this ocean if it's that big? If there's water down there, there's got to be oxygen down there. So all the components are going to be there for life. So what would be at the edge of that ocean? Would there be a land mass? Whereabouts exactly is it positioned? Would it be positioned nearer the Antarctica, which would then work with the claim of Admiral Byrd? So you've got the land mass underneath Antarctica, and this ocean that they've discovered is just on the edge of that area. It would fit in and it would work. Yeah. So, I mean, if we've got an ocean underneath the Earth set 700 kilometers below the Earth's surface, who's to say that on Mars that hasn't got the same thing?
Any of our planets in the solar system.
Yeah, on Mars's surface, okay, it may not be habitable on the surface because of the atmosphere being so thin, but underneath Mars's surface, it could be possible for life to still exist without any issues whatsoever. They've just evolved to live in them conditions. So who's to say that? I mean, we know there's water on Mars because it has a north and south pole. There is water there on the surface, just not in the rest of it. So where's it gone?
I think it makes a lot of sense too, because I'm a firm believer that we probably are originally from there, and there's something probably happened with Mars and another planet, something on a nuclear holocaust scale, and that's where they would go. I mean, that's what our plan is too: is go in bunkers in the Earth. We go to bomb crazy.
Or could it be that we learned from or the original versions of us that came here had made mistakes that we're making now here on Mars? So we'd evolved to a stage where we were destroying the planet, and we thought we need to move. So we've gone, oh look, Earth's nearby. Let's hop to that planet instead. So we've come over here and we've done a massive reset, and then started afresh from here. And now we're doing the same damage to this one, so we're looking further afield again. So we've taken a huge back step to move forward. I can see that being a very big possibility.
No coincidence. Roswell happened right after the bombing, when we bombed Hiroshima.
Yep. Loads of weird stuff is going on there. So it does make you wonder, and it just adds to the conspiracy theories, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
You know, there's something's not right, and a lot of people, and I would say there is a majority of people, are just plodding along, doing the things that they're told to do, and not asking any questions. It's people like us that stand there and go, hang on a minute, that doesn't make sense, and we start asking the questions. and they don't like it. And that's probably why there are so many issues with when we actually come out with something or we see something, they literally point blank poo-poo the idea straight away and say, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And then you get the likes of Operation Blue Book and all of these systems that are put in place to try and stop people from spreading, the information. And now all of a sudden we've got to a stage where social media's come along, they can't stop it. So it just adds, I think it just adds to everything. And I don't think they like it too much. But so yeah, I think in 2030, when the Mars rover comes back, that will be when we get the definitive proof that there was life on Mars. But we've had meteorite rocks from Mars land on Earth, and they've been analysed, and they've said there's life on this.
When are the astronauts supposed to go?
Well, the question is, have they already been and gone there?
I probably, but I was talking about Elon's.
SpaceX is the only organisation that's going to get there. I mean, I know NASA have.
Isn't that the same year, though? Like 2030. I think they're supposed to be sent there in 2030 as well.
Which will be when they bring the Perseverance back. It'll be that Mars mission that brings it back. I think they need to have boots on the ground to return it. I don't think it's capable of coming back autonomously. I think it will have to have boots on the ground to make sure that it gets back on and gets brought back properly and securely. And I think Elon Musk and SpaceX are the only people that are able to do it.
Yeah.
He's already proved it, when they've the best rocket that NASA had was only just good enough to get the space shuttle into space. And then they cancelled that program. Now they've started the new space shuttle program based on the original, but it's supposed to be safer. But NASA still haven't got the perfect rocket to get it into space. So they're going to piggyback off of SpaceX to be able to do the job more cheaply.
This is what I'm trusting after.
It's a strange one because it's taken a private company to booster, I like that, booster space exploration. The government organisation couldn't do it. A private company has actually stepped forward and said, look, we can do it, and we can do it a lot cheaper, and they've proved it.
I'm surprised nobody else is following Elon, such as any of the mining companies and sending anybody up to get precious minerals. Because you read about it, there's definitely potential to be rich from doing that.
I think that will come. I just think at the moment, until they're certain that there is a perfect way of getting up there and back again without any issues whatsoever, so their safety record's got to be pretty much 100%, then they'd look at quite possibly building bigger rockets and a larger command capsule that would get up there as easy as the SpaceX ones. Then I reckon the mining companies and that would start coming in and going, well, if you're able to do this and you're able to do trips to the moon or to Mars within a couple of months, then is it possible that you put this team on there and they can go looking for minerals?
Oh, I bet you they will be. And I bet you they'll have their own kind of space station, something huge out there, like riggers. The people do tours back and forth from Earth, so many months in space, so many months in the ground.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at a lot of the science fiction movies when they've got bases on different different planets and on the moon, there's always 9 times out of 10 there's always mention of a mining company that runs that particular section of the base. So it's got to revolve around a mining company because that's where the money's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, if we ever got short of a certain type of mineral, and yet we know there's plenty of it on the moon, what better way to do it? Send a rocket up to the moon with a mining team on it, get mining that stuff and bringing it back to Earth. That can be used.
Unless somebody's
so again, it'll all be about money and getting people up there as quick as possible.
Like I said, though, it all depends, too, if we actually have neighbors or not. Because I'm sure if we start taking some resources off another planet, that's when they're not going to be afraid to show themselves.
Yeah, I think if there is this universal federation, or there's a group of a federation of planets that are united in space exploration and so on and so forth. I think if we started going off up to other planets and start nicking their stuff, they're not going to be too happy.
Right. Could you just imagine if a big spaceship full of Greys showed up here and Zetas and we're all like, oh, we're just going to be taking your crude oil. You don't need it.
Yeah. No, vice versa. Oh, this big spaceship turns up and the Greys pop down and they go, look, we know you took it. We have CCTV footage of you stealing our minerals. So we want the person that took them. Universal Court of Justice. You're on trial, mate. And there is Dave Clark. He did a musical back in the 80s called Time. And it was based on the planet Earth being put on trial for the way we are. And it seems a bit corny, but it had the singer Cliff Richard in it at the time. And it was based on, the story was a guy was doing a concert, and as he started doing a song, he gets whisked away to the Andromeda Galaxy, and you get this really weird guy pops out the ceiling on this sort of floating head, a bit like I am now. Just see his head. And he explains that the Earth is being put on trial, and they're explaining how that we don't seem to get on with each other. We're always at war. We're blowing each other up. We're messing around with nuclear energy and not using all our resources correctly. And now we're venturing into space. So they've put Earth on trial, and if proved guilty, Earth will be destroyed along with everybody on it. If anybody gets the chance, have a listen to it on YouTube. I think it's on Apple iTunes. Various social platforms have got it. It's a really good. It's an album, basically. It's just full of music, but it explains the story as you listen to each song. And that's probably going to end up being what happens. We're going to start going, oh, look, that's got minerals on it. Let's take them minerals. We can use them, not realizing that we're actually stealing from somebody else's back garden. And no one's thought of that. No one's thought of the repercussions of going off into space and stealing from another civilization.
What do you do when a rodent steals from your garden?
Exactly. Someone steals from my property, I'm going to be gunning for them. I'm going to be happy. So it's one of those things that you have to tread carefully, because if you don't know what's out there, what trouble are you going to cause when you do go out there?
Yeah, it's the fun thing to think about too. And like we were saying too, like, what if we have been to some of these places? How much is that going to change everything? And how is our government going to dictate us from going? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, could the government have brokered a deal with whatever's out there? Without our knowledge, if they're denying that these things exist, they're going to stick to their story all the time until they're blue in the face. Don't deny it. So behind our backs, although they've made us think that there is nothing out there, could they have brokered a deal with something that is out there and tried to keep it as quiet as possible for the time being until they can't hide it anymore?
if you believe any of the Valiant Thor and Eisenhower stories, we apparently already had broken a deal with somebody, and somebody more positive has already
Yeah.
come, and we're like, "Yeah, Ben, we're not
And
giving
they're
up our
amongst us,
weapons."
and they're amongst us already. So it certainly adds fuel to the fire, and it sort of adds more truthfulness to the conspiracy theory that something's going on. So it it certainly does make you wonder, doesn't it?
It does. And then you have everybody, all the people who have abduction stories. And like I was talking to you earlier, there's a group of people. They actually was just a conference. They had a conference in Florida. There's actually two this month, same topic, about people who have abduction stories, but happen to see military personnel as they're being abducted. I don't know if you've ever heard about that before. It's called My Labs. And that kind of ties into the same people that are. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just coughing.
Okay. Anyways, what I was saying, it also ties in with a lot of the same people who've been say stuff about they've seen CIA things happen to them. And unfortunately, there is like a whole underground world and different darker society when it comes to just all sorts of topics that we dive into.
Yeah. The problem is there are so many government organisations out there that are responsible for different things. But they stand there and say they're responsible for this, they're responsible for that. But it turns out they're also responsible for something else that, if it was known, it would cause such an uproar. And
I think that,
go on.
I was going to say, I think that very one that you're speaking about has no name and no border either. There's just one really, really powerful one. It's just where all the money gets siphoned to from all the countries, and this is just literally at the top. And that's what they're suppressing everything. And they know if they don't suppress everything, we're going to hang them.
And do you reckon they're the same people that might have brokered this deal?
Oh yeah, I think top line they were probably behind it. I'm sure there's probably other things besides aliens that they break their deals with as well.
Yeah. I mean, it also goes back to this thing with the ocean. Admiral Byrd was told to not go back. And I wonder whether a representative did go back.
Oh, I'm sure.
So the brokered deal could be with this civilization that's in Antarctica.
I think that's what all the hubbub was about in like 2008, where everybody was like, "We need to get to Antarctica," and when the old Neil was all like, "It's evil down there." Remember that? I think that's what that was. I think that was that us sending somebody in and they're sending somebody back. I have a feeling our plastic ended up in their water supplies.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The more damage we do to our water and our air and everything else, the more damage we're doing to them. So they're going to have a concern, not only with themselves, but with us. They're going to have issues with us because they don't know what's coming. So
that's we do everything so backwards and pollutive because it's all about money.
It is. It is all about money. But it does sort of, it asks more questions than we get answers for. So it's something we have to be careful of, but it's out of our hands. And I think unless they all just pop up in mass and go, look, you're doing wrong, you know, and it wouldn't be just to certain individuals in power. We would have to be to everybody, to, you know, the shop owner, the milkman, the delivery paper boy and postman. You know, it's got to be normal people as well as the government.
But I mean, if you dig into it, they've had for years. There's been tons and tons and tons of people with experiences, and sometimes they just get too traumatized from them, where they need the extra push or a memory to unlock that.
And we've also had a big issue where people have felt too embarrassed to come forward, or they've been victimized, or they've been bullied into keeping quiet, like with Operation Blue Book. You know, they sort of publicly known that they went round and made people believe it was something else rather than what they actually saw. Not only that, it was also they were threatened that if they did come forward and say anything, their families' lives could be at risk. So, you know, you would get a lot of people that were too scared to say anything, and you'd get a very small minority that would turn around and say, I don't care, I'm going to tell the world.
I mean, the word conspiracy was originally created by the CIA.
Yeah.
It's a derogatory term. By the very people who are doing the shadowy, dark shit came up with the term conspiracy theory. I mean, how convenient is that?
No, yeah, you got to term it right. You're not going to have a local chocolate manufacturer turn around and pen the term conspiracy theory. Nice little tedious link into what we described the show as tonight. Talking about Mars and other chocolate. But yeah, it does make you wonder. So we're now halfway through the show, so we can now swap to our next subject. Now, the reason why I'm going to mention this one now, and the reason why I'm sitting out in the garden at Castle Spookinori, is tonight in the UK. I'm not too sure about North America. However, tonight we have the Southern Delta Aquarids meteor shower. And tonight is supposed to be the very peak of that meteor shower. And it's usually visible from mid-July through to near enough the end of August each year. Usually starts around the 20th to the 21st of July, right the way through until late August. I think it's about the 25th of August. And usually the yesterday and tonight is the peak of the meteor shower. Now, the comet of origin is not known for certainty. A suspected candidate is Comet 96P Machholz. And earlier it was thought to have originated from the Marsden and Cracked sun-grazing comets. But the Delta Aquarids get their name because the radiant appears to lie in the constellation of Aquarius, near one of the constellation's brightest stars, Delta Aquarii, or Quarii. Got that wrong. The name derives from the Latin possessive from aquari, whereby the declension is replaced by the its. There are two branches of the Delta Aquarid meteor shower, southern and northern. The southern Delta Aquarids are considered a strong shower with an average meteor observation rate of 15 to 20 per hour and a peak of 18. The average radiant is 339 degrees. But the North Delta Aquarids are a weaker shower, peaking later in middle August with an average peak rate of 10 meteors per hour. And I can remember one summer going down to Devon, and the night of my birthday, and that was early part of August, the 8th of August. We'd had little birthday dinner and presents and stuff, and then we all sat out on the deck of the log cabin that we'd hired, and it got to fairly dark, as it is sort of semi is now, and we sat there and watched these meteors, and it was a hell of a lot more than 20 per hour. We were talking about 10 per minute. There was loads of them. They were going in all directions. And I've always been fascinated with the Delta Aquarids since then, simply because it's not just, I can put it, it's nature's fireworks show, but without the bangs and the fizzes.
That's what you're going to put that.
Yeah, but they were always saying that the best time to view it is pre-dawn hours, so just before dawn, when all the street lights and that come back on, is the best time to see it. But obviously now in the UK, we've changed the rules, or we've brought in laws that after 1 o'clock in the morning, all the street lights go off, apart from at road junctions. So on a housing estate, most of all the street lights go out. So you can quite easily have all your lights out and you've got no light pollution whatsoever. So it makes it ideal for watching this. It is quite an appearance. So I'm trying to find out exactly what the whether you'll be able to see it in North America. Southern Hemisphere viewers usually get better, baby.
We have thunderstorm warnings tonight, so probably not around here.
Oh, it'll be too cloudy then. We've literally got pure clear skies. We've had, I think today has been about 26 degrees centigrade here, which is flipping hot. For us, it's flipping hot. But it's supposed to be even hotter tomorrow, but we haven't had hardly any clouds today. So it'll be ideal conditions to watch it. Meteors will compass points. You probably will be able to see it.
Lasts for a few days too, right? You were saying earlier.
The actual meteor shower itself, the actual the field that we go through, it runs from I just found it now, that occurs during the 12th of July through to the 23rd of August. So it's over a month that this meteor shower lasts for. So it's quite a big field that we're going through. Because as we're going through the constellation of Aquarius, so yeah, so it is the best part of a month that we're going to be able to see it, and apparently everybody in the Northern Hemisphere will be able to see it. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you'll be fine. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you might not be able to see it. But it says here the meteors will primarily fan out in all compass points, so they'll go in all directions, east, north, and west. A few meteors will be seen heading south, unless they're fairly short and near the radiant. So they're going to be able to be seen going in all directions in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's quite exciting, because you have the ETA Aquarids, which are in April, I think, April till May. Usually the 5th of May is the peak. So I think we have about 5 or 6 quite decent meteor showers each year. And this one for the summer is probably one of the best ones, because it's obviously the weather's better. There's nothing worse than going out in your back garden to watch a meteor shower and not be able to see anything because there's too much cloud.
Yeah.
It was quite funny because the last few days, or say the last few days, last week, I've been working in my back garden, and because it's been so hot, we've just sat out here in the garden at the end of the day. We've had candles out on the table. We've got citronella sticks burning so we don't get bitten by mosquitoes, and we've just sat out here with a couple of drinks and just relaxed. And one of the kids has come out and gone, "What's that over there, Daddy?" And I'm like, "I see this light." And it was a solid light and it was moving and it was heading in our direction. And I went, "It's all right, it's a plane. It's just taken off from the local airport." And they went, "Oh, but don't they have flashing lights?" And I said, "Yes, they do. But when they take off and land, they have headlights on them. And then if they're taking off, they get a certain distance from the airport and the headlights come off." And just as I said it, the headlights went off and all you could see was the little marker lights flashing away.
That's funny.
Oh, I thought that was a UFO then. Don't stop us from looking for them, though.
No.
Especially,
My son actually got one on camera when he was younger. It was the damnedest thing, too. And I still, to this day, don't know. And I've had people look at it. I have to put it up eventually.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a bit like the one me and Mark saw at Rendlesham Forest. Very reminiscent of the TR3B, triangular in shape, but this was massive. This was way bigger than any of the pictures of the TR3B that have ever been on the internet.
The other thing that always interested me too was because I talked to a couple of people who've seen the Phoenix lights, and they kind of almost sounded like the TR3B, but massive, like miles long.
Yeah. Well, me and Mark reckon the thing that we saw at Rendlesham Forest had to have been at least over 10 football pitches easily, and it was big enough and high enough for it to have clouds pass underneath it. So it was probably 100 football pitches, if you ask me. But it was just massive. And it wasn't there for long. It was there for a couple of minutes and then it just vanished. And straight after, there was 2 F-15s from the local USAF base flew after it. And the thing was, leading up to that point, we had the Flight Aviation Authority's website up, and we'd got the live map of all the aircraft that were in the area, and none of what we had seen was showing up on the radar. Yet the 2 F-15s came up as clear as day, taken off from RAF Lakenheath and heading straight towards where we were, and went off in an easterly direction. But they were chasing nothing because it wasn't coming up on the radar. But this thing was huge. It should have shown up on a radar.
Or they were escorting it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's possible, but we'd seen 5 other objects that also didn't show up on the radar. And they were a lot smaller. But they were just little light, they were pure white lights. And they were just literally, one of them was going up and down across the horizon like that. Others were just stationary near the clearing where we were. And then they all just disappeared. And then this massive thing appeared above us, and we were just like, "Oh my God." And I think the actual picture, I'm sure Mark has posted it on the Dark Mirrors Facebook group. So it's definitely, yeah, something weird. And this was September, so I'm not too sure whether if there's any meteor showers scheduled for that time. Let's have a look. Poseidon even. You've got the Poseidon meteor shower, and the Alpha Aurigids, and they're in September. So it's here we go. Right, October, September, August. No, Perseids. Right, we've got the Delta Aquarids now until the 23rd of August. And then from the 12th of August through to the 17th of August, we have the Perseids. So not only have we got the Delta Aquarids, we've also got the Perseids that come in between that, which is bizarre. And then shortly after that, we've got Taurids, which is in the southern hemisphere. We don't have anything here until October, which is the Draconids. We don't have any meteor showers in September, and that was when we were in Rendlesham Forest. So it doesn't explain. You know, when we say, "Oh, we saw all these objects," and they go, "Oh, it must have been meteor shower." There's no meteor showers in September. Sorry. And that's information from the Royal Observatory in Greenwich. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We've actually got 3 meteor showers going all at the same time, according to the Royal Observatory. We've got the Alpha Capricornids, the Delta Aquarids, and the Perseids. At one point, all 3 meteor showers coincide with each other. And oddly enough, the 8th of August is right in the middle when all 3 meteor showers are running at the same time. So not only have we got the meteor shower of what was it? I think I said 13 to 20 per hour. So not only have we got the 13 to 20 per hour of the Delta Aquarids, we've got the apparently yellow slow fireballs of the Alpha Capricornids, and many bright fast meteors with trains associated with Comet Swift-Tuttle is passing through. So, right, possible hourly rate, I found it. So the Alpha Capricornids is 5 per hour. The Delta Aquarids up to 25 per hour. The Perseids, which is the strongest one, is 100 per hour. So when you look at that, that's 130 meteors per hour.
That's wild.
So, and then obviously you've got nothing until October. However, there's 2 in October, but they are literally one after the other. No, they are literally in conjunction with each other. The Taurids and the Orionids. Draconids, Orionids, and the Taurids are literally. Taurids are in southern, so that's not that. Draconids and Orionids. But they're only 35 meteors per hour. So that's nothing compared to the ones we're seeing at the moment. And then you won't get anything now in the northern hemisphere. October the 10th till December in the northern hemisphere is the Taurids, which are only 5 per hour. So the Geminids is the best one, 150 per hour. And that will also coincide with the Ursids. So Ursids into the Quadrantids. getting from the 28th. From the 4th of December through to the 28th of December and 12th of January, we're going to get a total of 260 meteors per hour this year. So we got something big coming. I don't know what, but it's something big.
You need to get yourself one of them telescope cameras so you can record it all.
Yeah, I thought of that. I did think of that a long time ago, of getting one of those space telescopes. But nowadays we're getting camera phones that are getting so good that you could probably just point your phone up at the sky and get them anyway. We did with the Northern Lights when we had the Aurora Borealis come down this far in the UK. It never comes down this far, and yet that night it was phenomenal. You know, to actually walk out your front door and just see the sky with all these weird purple and green streamers all over the place. There
was a camera NASA made discontinue. It was the Nikon XP1000, and that was the one where everybody was getting really close pictures of the craters and stuff.
Right.
I don't know if you heard anything about that, but officially was told that NASA made them discontinue them because you were getting like such clear pictures of space. Like it was like better than some of the $1,000 telescopes.
Yeah. I think as well, I mean, when you see some of these pictures come up on the internet where someone has actually managed to take a picture of Saturn, and you're like, okay, but that looks a little bit too big, quite possibly CGI,
right?
or heavily photoshopped.
The people see that post CGI stuff is getting out of hand too, and it's like,
yeah,
a lot of our friends are falling for it. I've noticed, but look at everybody's got to watch the eyes and the hands, especially the hands. The hands are all wavy. It's CGI. It's not an alien. It's not Bigfoot.
Yeah, they conveniently had a tripod with them. You know, just out walking the dog and I saw this, but I also had my tripod in my pocket, so I was able to have a steady picture.
Well, I'm saying if they got like spaghetti fingers, come on now. Don't post that.
You wouldn't, if you're going to take a picture of something that you can see, you would at least steady the camera, put the camera down somewhere where it's going to be as steady as anything, because the best proof you've got is going to be with a steady picture. You know, like you say, spaghetti fingers, you're all over the blinking shop with it, you're going to end up with a blurred picture. That's not evidence.
No.
Because you can't analyze the photo properly, so you need a steady hand. I could understand if they've seen something like a Bigfoot, they might be actually scared, and that could be them shaking. But I would still be tempted to think, "Whoa, what am I doing?"
But Bigfoot still shouldn't have spaghetti fingers. Come on now.
Bigfoot would be sitting there taking a photo back. Yeah, I got steady hands. But you wouldn't. What would you be doing out there in the first place? You know, you're looking for Bigfoot. If you actually see one, the last thing you're going to do is all of a sudden get shaky, put up your pants and run off.
Right.
Because that's the whole reason why you're there. It's the same as with ghost hunting. You go into these paranormal and haunted locations because that's what you're there for, to look for these things. The last thing you want to be doing is run away when you hear a strange sound or you see something you can't explain. The last thing you want to do is run off.
Did you see that recent Yeti video where it's like somebody took a Yeti, like big stuffed animal, and like threw it down like a fucking mountainside filled with snow? And like it
No,
almost looks believable, but then you can see it like how it's falling that it's a stuffed animal. But I give that guy at least an A for effort.
at least he tried. But no, you've got to have a steady hand. And
Right.
to be honest, I mean, when me and Mark keep going dark, when me and Mark had seen our object, we were quite confused by what we saw. And we straight away we were looking at each other and we were saying, "Well, what is it?" And we kept looking up and we kept trying to analyze it and see how big it was. And obviously, we could see clouds passing underneath it because the moon was out, and there was a
Did
few
you
wisps. There was a
did you
few
guys
wisps
have
of
any
clouds.
did you guys have
But
any missing time or anything strange happen after that? Or
we
Mark's told
didn't.
me a few stories, and I think some stuff has happened with him in the past.
I'm not sure we had any missing time, but we felt like we were being watched. There was definitely something moving around in the woods around us at the time, because we kept hearing footsteps, we kept hearing foliage being moved, but we tended to look at that and put it down to the wildlife. I mean, I keep saying we're going to go back, and maybe sort of do some more night filming, simply to see whether the same thing happens again, or whether um, there is anything watching us at the time. Because while we were filming, we had two guards from the army base watching us. We were at the east gate where originally they'd seen this light in the forest, and we were filming an introduction to the episode. And as we were walking away, this pickup truck came down to the gate. And by then, we'd obviously walked away. We then went down to the other end of the what was the runway at the base, where there is a public car park to the forest. And we stood there, filmed another bit. And this pickup truck came down the side of the boundary and stopped at the end of the runway. And they both got out and stood there watching us. And then as we left there and walked off into the woods, they went off back up to the east gate, and we were wondering whether it was them. The problem they would have had was when as soon as they open that gate and leave the gate, they have to leave their sidearms behind. So we reckon they'd left their sidearms in their pickup truck, shut the gates, and then walked down into the woods to see what we were up to, because they could see we had cameras. But it was very strange, very, very strange. But we
With
didn't
that
miss
being
any
said,
time.
okay. Do you think they saw it then? If they were,
I think they knew it was there. I think they knew it was there, and that's why they were watching us. It just seemed too coincidental. You know, in the build up to seeing what we saw, these two guys were watching us and following us everywhere we went, and they knew what we were doing because obviously we'd got cameras and tripods and lights and all sorts, so they knew what we were doing. So it just seemed a little bit too odd, to be honest.
yeah.
It just screamed that they knew what we were doing, and they knew what we were going to see.
And that
The
was
thing
just
is,
way strange for when the military's involved in a sighting or an experience.
yeah, I mean, it's been. I mean, I have talked to a few people that have been there, and they have experienced something, and they have seen something, and it's ranged from the UFOs, strange lights, but also things closer to the ground. And apparently, there has been, there was tales or rumours of witchcraft and stuff that was done in the area when it was Anglo-Saxon times. Because we have Sutton Hoo, which is an Anglo-Saxon burial site, literally 1 or 2 miles down the road. So there was an Anglo-Saxon settlement in that area. So rituals would have been done in that area. So a lot of people are claiming that they've seen strange stuff walking around in amongst the trees, and that could explain the footsteps or the movement that me and Mark could hear when we were over there. We don't know. But it certainly is a strange one.
Yeah.
So, right, I've just got a message. Got to message Nick, because we are now come to the end of our hour. So, there we go. So we're hoping Mark is fine, and he will be back with us next week. And we're just going to wait for our wonderful Nick to come back on and give us a hand with
beam us out of here.
He's coming. So yeah. So if anybody's about next week, please give us a watch, and we will try and have something different to talk about.
Yep.
But anyway, while we're saying about it, Mars and other chocolate. Josh, what is your favorite chocolate?
Whatchamacallits.
Never heard of them.
They're really good. They're like they got chocolate and caramel on them, and then they're kind of like covered in like a like cracker substance almost. They're really good. And they're called whatchamacallit.
I've got a thing for Reese's. Absolutely love Reese's, whether it's the peanut cups or Reese's Pieces. Reese's Pieces are my favourite, simply because you can just pick a small handful up and off you go. But the ultimate for me, and it always will be, is Jelly Belly jelly beans.
Yes.
I absolutely love them. And I will buy them in kilo bags. I will buy a kilo bag quite easily, and I have them in a big jar that I use when I'm doing my when I'm writing. I sit there and I'll literally be munching away. Oh, no,
mine are sweethearts and Moorheads.
I've never really had them. Noreen, sorry, we haven't been ignoring you. It's very difficult for us to actually read the comments on the system that we've got.
I don't see any of the comments ever. So sorry if I've ever offended anybody out there, but yeah, I literally cannot read your comment.
Yeah. So Barry's popped in and said hello. So hi Barry. Noreen, I've seen a massive triangle around 2011. It was silent. Most of them, they usually are. When I saw the triangle, I was curious as to what it could be and confused. But as it came closer, I had an irrational urge to drop to the floor, press myself up against the wall, and hide like I was being watched. I can't explain it. I never heard of the triangle at that point. I only found out about it 12 months later when I saw a documentary about the Phoenix Lights. So what you were saying, Josh, so excited that I wasn't the only one to have experienced this. You're one of many people, Noreen, now that are actually sort of experiencing things, and now there's the platforms for people to actually come forward and say something.
She needs to check out the word TR3B. It'll blow your mind. There's a lot of people in it. It's the name of the ship, the code name. There's a lot of people out there from the US to Australia to the UK who have seen this thing. A
And
lot of times
apparently,
it interferes with technology too.
yeah, apparently there are a lot of different variants of it as well, because some of them have got a light in the center and others don't. Um, the actual TR3B that they've sort of, a lot of people have got photos of, have got a central bulge, and it's got a light in the middle of it. But a lot of the eyewitness reports are only seeing lights in the corners of each point. Whether they're actually using the object in the middle, or there's some smaller engines on the points for the standstill, for the stationary position. I don't know. So it is a very strange thing.
It is.
I was new to Facebook at the time and didn't know what to ask about it. It was about 2:30 when I saw it. Noreen, we are happy for you to share your experience with us. If you want to do a little, like a short write-up of it and send it to the chat in the Dark Mirror Radio Shows chat group, and we can read through it. And we'd love to sort of read what's
Or
been
even
going
send it to
on.
one of us.
Yeah. Or send it directly to one of us. Oh, my lovely light's just gone out on me. That's nice. There we go. Have a little candle light. My little light just died on me.
You got to enjoy that backyard after you put in all that work this weekend.
Oh, I haven't finished yet. I've still got loads to do. I've got some fake ivy arriving tomorrow, which is going to go on the pagoda. I did some trellis work on one side of it now, and I've got a tarpaulin across the top so we can sit out here in all weather. I've put some solar lights around the edges of the gardens now, so it's just a case of getting things to the tip now and getting rid of it, and then I can enjoy it. So anyway, we would that's it for us now until next week.
Yep.
So what are you up to this week then, Josh?
My son's got a birthday coming up, so I've just been preparing for that. Couple interviews scheduled. Trying to edit through my show. That's what takes forever. Is I do all the videos and edit clips, and it's not really my forte. It's my wife's. So trying to teach myself how to do that. So it's been low and slow. But we're getting there.
Cool. I think I've got 2 shows, one Thursday, one Friday, Mystical Carousel and Fools and Ghouls. And then that's me done. But I've got loads of things to do. I've got 2 events that I've got to organise. One with Mr. Fred Bat, the demonologist, and an event that I'm hosting over at Harwich in Essex, which is going to be good because I do like this location. It dates back to the 1700s. So I'm organising the event for that, which will be pretty good. So
the demonologist, it's got to be a fun chat. I haven't got a chance to interview one of those yet, but probably should sometime soon.
Yeah. So anyway, if Nick would like to sign us off the live, and we will bid you all a good night, and take care and enjoy the rest of your week.
You too. And Mark, get up better out there.
Yep. All the best, Mark. Hope you get well soon.
You're running out of sick days.
Well, I think we're just going to have to leave.